Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of GMS, Ruel, who I learned this truth from, and salutations and blessings to you elect out there, starting with 144,000 on down. So this video is called Some Strange Thing. I'll just title it Strange Thing. All right, I was watching this brother Hadabiar, all right, from our camp, Comfort in These Precepts, right? It's a good video, subscribe, be edified to the brother. He was going through it, I was watching his other videos too, like a week ago, and the brother's going through, situations and whatnot. But, when he said a good thing, he said, man's goings are of the Lord. And that's very true, and look, there's going to come all kinds of trials, all kinds of curveballs. There's going to be situations that seem impossible to get out of. There's going to be situations you're going to think, why me? How could this happen? Right? The mind has the scriptures say in the Apocrypha, in the book of Sirach, a man's mind or intuition or something like that wants to tell him more than 7 men on a watchtower, something like that. Khan. This is Sirach 37 and 14. For a man's mind is sometime wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit above in an high tower. Right? And your mind is racing and all kinds of thoughts of anxiety, which is a demon. Right? That's in the book of Psalms. Okay, when you got anxiety, 1144, Brakhtayal Shai. But you got to know that these are demons on these people, literally. These are spirits. These are people that are possessed. These are majority idol worshippers. They got demons running all throughout them, doing sprints and circuits and backflips. No joke, man. These people are being rid by these demons, man. And, they got missions. They got goals to fuck with you. Okay? Certain spirits are set up to just mess with you. Whether it's at your work job, whether it's your personal life. Okay? It can be a centurion that pulls you over. It can be whatever kind of situation. And therefore, I love this scripture, 1 Peter 4 and 12. AMP, beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal which is taking place to test you, that is, to test the quality of your faith. You see, so the Lord wants to see your quality of faith. He gave you faith in measure. He gave every brother when you come in the truth, your eyes are open. He gives you that eye salve. You get that breath of life, right? You get revived back to life, but he wants to see the quality. Okay, and that only comes through experience, that comes through testing. All right, as though something strange or unusual were happening to you. Strange or unusual. Like I said, all kinds of situations. My car been in the mechanic for pretty much this whole month. One time, I had a cracked windshield within 2 times within the span of a month and a half. You're driving on the highway, boom, a rock hits your glass, it cracks, you got to replace that shit. And you brothers that did that, that ain't cheap. And then boom, it happened again a month later. All kinds of weird things that you brothers go through, and you really scratch your head and say, how is this happening? Why am I going through this stuff? But this is the Lord. Okay, this is Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. We're dealing with a serious power. Right? Salakia. Strange. The word is xenos. Right? A foreigner, a stranger, alien from a person or a thing without the knowledge of, without sharing. Now I'm going to get this actually. I got Grok to do some digging, right? To go into this word strange. Strange, the key verb is zeniziste, or xenos, right? The verb comes from xenos, which is stranger, foreigner, alien, one who does not belong, guest from another country. The idea behind the word is something outside your normal experience. And you're going to get that dose when you come into this truth, man. Okay? You start coming to camp, doing your videos, doing the ceremonies, the Passover, the Pesach. You get anointed, man. Them demons are on your ass. Okay. All right. The time of testing, man. Right. This is the condition of the battle, man. We're in the worst possible situation. Therefore, that's the greatest miracle to be saved from, right? Via the Holy Spirit, via Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash, right? That's a pretty miraculous work, if you ask me, right? Being in these decrepit bodies, and we're the weakest we've ever been since Adam, right? It says number 2, the verb, zenizo, this verb has 2 related meanings depending on context. To receive or entertain a stranger, show hospitality. To regard something as strange, foreign, surprising, or unexpected. Peter uses the second meaning, okay, to regard something as strange, foreign, surprising, or unexpected. Curveball, right? The form Peter uses is present tense, middle passive voice, imperative, command with the negative. Do not, the senses, stop treating this as something foreign and do not keep reacting as though this is something alien. So you know what that means? You have a fuck it attitude, and not fuck it in the crash out sense, and surely not completely numb, right? We're in a human experience, brothers, especially you got children or whatever your situation, but we're getting more stronger in the spirit. You're getting more unshakable. Some people call it nonchalant, especially women. Oh, you don't care about anything. Nothing phases you, or you're not reacting to this, or you're not, because we're coming into a time where there's going to be mass reaction to the polycrises that's going to happen, right? There's going to be polycrises, many crises that are going to pop out soon, okay? And you're going to have mass reactions, which is mostly of panic, distress, confusion, anxiety, anger, right? Disparity. Okay? So you get these situations, you just got to keep marching, man. Keep marching, keep going forward. Okay? You got to keep going forward. Okay, like I said, it's like a stoic mindset, an austere mindset. Like, oh, okay, this happened, that happened. I'll be honest, when you fight against that shit, it makes it 10 times harder. When you cause friction to whatever situation you're in, you're already going that route. You're not going the other way. The Lord put you in a situation, He locked you in, so you lock the fuck in. The Lord's not pulling back. So what the fuck are you doing trying to cause friction? You're just causing yourself to just amplify your pain, man, your despair. Whatever you got going on, and that's through personal experience. I've been in these situations, and then months later I'm out. The Lord gets me out, and I'm like, God damn, like it would have been easier if I just went with it, because I'm in it anyway. There's nothing you can do. The Lord got you, bro. The Lord, He's the the master of the universe, right? He got you. You're in His little realm. He wants people. He wants you to look like the bad guy. He wants you to for other people to look at you weird, talk shit about you, do things to you, and nobody's seeing it, and you're not justified, and you're angry, and it literally feels like everyone's against you. He got you in His little whatever test He's got you in, which is more reason to fear Him than just to bow your head, be humble, suffer the humiliation. The scriptures say before honor comes humility. Humility. That's where you get the word humiliation. Okay. It says the present imperative often carries the force of an ongoing attitude. The attitude is what, man? The attitude is really contentment. That's what Paul was talking about in Philippians. Whether I'm abased or whether I abound. In the AMP, I believe we're going to read that, Lord's will. It says, I have learned the secret of life, which is contentment. And you know what they say in the world? They say comparison is the thief of joy. So when people are not content, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're scrolling, we're seeing different things. Oh man, and you got a good situation, man. You got a roof over your head, you got food, you got clothes, you got a woman, you got this, that, and the third. Okay? Like even us brothers, man, look, man, you got brothers in so-called third world situations. I'm not gonna say third world exactly, but different situations than what we have in the West, and they're used to a different quality of life. And you got to be thankful for what you got. At the flip side, those brothers got different benefits themselves, and they'll tell you, like brothers on the islands, it's a whole different lifestyle there. People from here, some people can do it, a lot of people can't. But guess what? Really technically a more natural way of living is better. But we're so used to living a certain way here, But the point is contentment. It really don't matter. It's a state of mind, a frame of mind, right? You got to just be content. When you're comparing and you're saying, man, you got what you need, bro. Your daily bread. Now you're scrolling and looking, man, this guy's driving this car, you got this woman, this situation. Comparison, not being content, not counting your blessings. There's a good video I seen a few years ago. It was just stating facts or statistics about, if you ate 3 square meals today, you're 20%, or you're in this category of people, and then they'll point to the amount of people that didn't do that, have that today. If you got clothes on your back, so forth and so on. And it really puts things in perspective. And Esau loves to shift perspective, man. Anyway, going back here, Esau's a master wizard. He's a mass wizard, and he shifts perceptions, and he's a thief of everything, man. Okay, the thief cometh in to destroy, to kill, and steal. Right? The thief cometh not in but to kill, destroy, and steal. Right? So he'll steal your joy. As a natural man, we're supposed to have joy. We're supposed to have land ownership, which really the land is owned by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. You can't even sell land. That's in the law. There's in the Holy Land, right? The land Israel. You can't even sell that, right? But a man's supposed to have these natural things, man. His food, his property, his vineyard, his husbandry, whatever his trade is, okay? Without fucking taxation and licenses and permits and zoning restrictions. Fucking madness, man. Anyway, I'm going off a bit, but the word strange is stronger than it sounds. Modern English makes strange sound like weird. The Greek is closer to foreign, alien, out of place, contrary to expectation, which is another thing you should get out of your head. Expectations. You're in hell. We're in prison. What do you. The expectation is salvation, right? Really, that's a lesson right there. Your expectations should be salvation in the spirit. In the spirit, meaning, look, you're doing the work and you're praying the Lord will get you out of here. Simple. If you're in this ministry, doing the work means everything. Loving your brother as yourself, fearing the Most High, doing everything. Right? Something that doesn't belong. Peter is saying, don't look at suffering as though it has entered Christianity from somewhere else. Right? Notice Peter's wording. He writes, the fiery trial among you. The trial isn't arriving from outside by accident. Remember, there's a spiritual realm, man. There's things we don't see going on every day, every second. What do you think in the book of Genesis, the ladder that Jacob saw, right? That scholars famously called Jacob's ladder, which they made a movie about, which is all about the spiritual realm. It's all about the spirits, left hand and right hand. There's angels, and really demons are angels too, just messengers on the left hand side. I know people want to say angels and demons, but you got left hand spirits and right hand spirits, so you can understand, right? And they're doing all kinds of operations on men. All kinds of things are happening. You know what showed you that? There's a movie called 13 Ghosts. I actually watched it a few days ago. I haven't watched it since years. It came out in 2001. Right, and that shit scared the shit out of me back then, right? But now I watch, I'm like, oh, this is all spiritual, because the dude was an occult. You had all kinds of sacred geometry, but in the beginning scene, the opening scene of that movie, it showed you cars falling on people, things happening, people dying, like in Final Destination. But it showed you, you had to have special glasses. When you put the glasses on, which represents just the eye salve, the so-called third eye, the spiritual realm, the spiritual veil lifting, Same thing in that movie They Live. The glasses, when you put the glasses on, the glasses, right, is a spectacle. That's where we get the word spect. So he's spectating the spiritual realm, the fifth dimension, so to speak. Okay, but in that movie 13 Ghosts, when they put the glasses on, he seen it was the demon that was lifting the car, and the car was falling on the guy, and then the guy got slashed by something, and people were dying, and it was spirits killing people, tearing people apart, ripping heads off, right? Which is what angels do. Okay, the angel that caused the judgment when David went off, right? In Jerusalem, right? So not in Jerusalem, I believe, but around that area. But there's a whole nother realm around us. So all kinds of spiritual things, spirits will jump on somebody, your coworker, your boss, your HR calling you in. You get an email, all kinds of shit, man. Brother told me he lost his job, because Elam, the security made a complaint about him, and he's the brother does loss prevention. He's catching the thieves, and he got a complaint on him by Elam, a damn security guard. All kinds of weird situations, man. All kinds of things. So they're not strange though. They're strange to people. They shouldn't be strange to us, right? Like that show Stranger Things, which was all about what? The spiritual realm, spiritual, right? The fifth dimension, right? He writes, the fiery trial among you. The trial isn't arriving from outside by accident. It is occurring among believers as part of the Most High's refining process, because you're going through things that you can't see, you don't understand. It's not tangible. You can't grab it, you can't touch it, you can't see it, you can't smell it, but it's happening. You were in a better situation, now you're in a worse situation. It happened. Okay, through means of what was that movie back in the day? A series of misfortunate events. that was a movie, but that's a good term. You were in a situation, a good situation. Now you're in a worse situation through a series of misfortunate events, right? And that was through the Lord working spiritual things, but He's trying you, man, because He's bringing you through places you can't see, but you got to trust in the Spirit, and that is faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, which is crazy talk to normal people. Okay, they got to see things, they got to see it. They need to see it to believe it. I got to see it to believe it. Right? It says, then he says, as though something foreign were happening to you, literally as if an alien thing were happening. Peter uses this word elsewhere. Anyway, that was the point here. Let me go to First Peter. Let me see, where is that? First Peter, that was 4. Now I'm going to 1 and 6. Actually, Slakia, did I finish 4? I read 12. Yeah, I finished that. All right. 1 and 6. AMP, in this you rejoice greatly, even though now for a little while, if necessary, you have been distressed by various trials, so that the genuineness of your faith, which is much more precious than gold, which is perishable, even though tested and purified by fire, may be found to result in your praise and glory and honor at the revelation of Yahushua Mashiach. Right? Again, don't get caught off guard. This is Malachi 3 and 1 AMP. Actually, I started 2. But who can endure the day of his coming, right? Yahushua is coming. His coming, right? And who can stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire and like launderer's soap, which removes impurities and uncleanness. Brothers are going through that because Yahushua is literally cleaning you up, refining you. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, they're refining you. But it's really Yahushua in the spirit because he's supping with you. But guess what? For him to sup with you, that means you got to be purified. But how can that be? We're in these bodies. So there's a constant process of purifying, which is by heat, fire. Sometimes it's smooth. Yes, we understand. But then that's when the brothers think, oh, something happened. And it's strange. Well, it shouldn't be strange. The more you are in this truth, you should have that attitude. Okay, have the attitude of contentment. Be content. When you're content, you are not really caught off guard. Okay, you know how to do with a can of sardines, you know, however you get it, you know, and then when you're good, you know how to control that too. You know not to go overboard when you're abounding, right? He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he will purify the sons of Levi, the priests, and refine them like gold and silver, so that they may present to the Lord Yahweh grain offerings in righteousness. Right now, this was during the time of the second temple after the Babylonian exile, around the time of Ezra, I believe, right? Ezra, Nehemiah, rebuilding of the temple. But we're all now a nation of kings and priests. So all the tribes are going to be priests. But the point is, Yahweh Shai, right? He's a purifier, man, and to purify is not good. It doesn't feel good. Like I said, you can be in freaking impossible situations that make you scratch your head and make you want to scratch your damn brain, thinking like, what the hell's really going on? Okay, but it's all of the Lord, man. He wants to see the quality of your faith, right? So I'm just looking up some words, but real quick, this is Job 23 and 6 AMP. Would he contend against me with his great power? No, surely he would give attention to me. There the righteous, actually NLT in the 6 reads, would he use his great anger to argue with me? No, he would give me a fair hearing. Back in this AMP's verse 7, there the righteous and upright could reason with him. So I would be acquitted forever by my judge. Behold, I go forward to the east, but he is not there. I go backward to the west, but I cannot perceive him. To the left, north, he turns, but I cannot behold him. He turns to the right hand, south, but I cannot see him. And it feels like that sometimes. Man, it feels like the Lord puts you out there. Yahweh Shem Yahushua put you out there, and you just got to deal with it. You got your tools, your spiritual tools that you learned, and you just got to put it to work and deal with it. Deal with your situation through the Spirit. Okay? And it's a scary feeling, but that's another test. It was a test the Lord puts you through when His presence isn't even there. Just like Yahushua. Hey, it happened to Yahushua on the cross at the climax of his hell. It felt like the Lord left him. That's terrifying. And you're being tortured. Right? Damn. Verse 10. But he knows the way that I take, and he pays attention to it. When he has tried me, I will come forth as refined gold, pure and luminous. This is what you got to have a mindset of. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to get through it, man. Okay, Lord's will. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua willing. I'm going to, you got to pray to the Lord, to follow him whithersoever he goeth, right? Yahushua said that my sheep follow me whithersoever I go. And guess what? Whithersoever he goes is unpleasant places, man. It's rough terrain, right? This is a narrow path to the kingdom. On one hand is his fire, and on the other hand is his water, deep water. So you got to pray wherever the Lord leads you. Keep following him. Keep obeying him. Okay? Verse 11, my feet have carefully followed his steps. I have kept his ways and not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. And this is Job going through hell, brothers, things that we have not experienced, losing your property, invaders coming, taking and destroying your property, your livestock, your livelihood, your estate, your wealth is gone, your family, your servants, everybody killed. And you're plagued in the mind, you're plagued with boils and all kinds of physical ailments. This is a hell. Pretty much Job caught hell on every which way you can think, man. He caught it physically, emotionally, spiritually, okay, psychologically, every which way the Lord can push your buttons, he pushed all the buttons on Job, pretty much. Okay? And then he still says, I have kept the words of his mouth more. Look at this. I have kept the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. In the NLT, it says, I have not departed from his commands, but have treasured his words more than daily food. And that proves that this is food. Hence, we're feeding the flock. If you love me, feed my flock. That's what Yahushua said. This is food, man. And that proves, too, Yahushua said, man shall not live by bread alone, roughly paraphrasing Salakia. Right? But by every word which proceedeth out of my mouth. Right? So, this is spiritual meat. This is spiritual food. This is the bread of life. Yahushua was born in Bethlehem, the house of bread, Bathal Lacham, or Bayath Lacham. Right? But he is unique, verse 13, and unchangeable. And who can turn him? And what his soul, and what has Salakia, and what his soul desires that he does. Most High does what he wants to do. For he performs what is planned, appointed for me, and he is mindful of many such things. Let me read that in the NLT. So he will do to me whatever he has planned. He controls my destiny. I can't say anything else. I mean, whatever is happening is happening. You're going through your little what is that word? Idiosyncrasies, your little things that you do. The Lord, every which way you're moving is of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. There's no part in the movie where the Lord's like, shit, I made a mistake. None of that, man. Everything is done in detailed, meticulous, beautiful poetry. You know, that is Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Verse 15, therefore I would be terrified at his presence. When I consider all of this, I tremble in dread of him. And that's it. That's all you can do. For the Most High has made my heart faint, and the Almighty has terrified me. But I am not silenced by the darkness of these woes that fell on me, nor by the thick darkness which covers my face. See, so the Lord, hey, Job, one of my favorite scriptures ever is in Job 13. I believe it's 13, 14. Though he slay me, yet will I remain my faith in him. Let me just get that since I said it. 13 and 15. Let me see what the AMP says. Even though he kills me, I will hope in him. Nevertheless, I will argue my ways to his face. Okay. But that was a beautiful precept. Khan, that was pretty much it on that. So I hope you're edified with that. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rachakodash, Shalom to you elect out there. Kwam Yasharallah.